Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very empowering show coming right up with special guest Louise Green. And she's here today to share with us her new book, Structural Integration and Energy Medicine. Now, Jean was trained by Dr. Rolf's first-generation teachers. From 2004 to 2018, she taught basic and advanced level deep tissue classes as a certified teacher of therapeutic massage and a senior staff member of the Chico Therapy Wellness Center. She is a professional member of the Guild for Structural Integration, the International Association for Structural Integration, and the Associative Bodywork and Massage Professionals. So let's welcome to the show, Louise Green.
Thank you, Marianne. I appreciate being able to be here. Thank you.
Oh, what a treat it is to spend this time with you and to talk about your new book. And so I have to ask you, what was the inspiration behind writing this book?
Oh, that's a great question. The inspiration was to be able to provide for my clients detailed information about the process and experience of structural integration, how they can best enhance receiving the work, make the most of the experience, and also give them some tips to help them after they had completed the process of structural integration so that they weren't putting more strain and pain back into their bodies.
Well, and for our listeners that are new to this, what is structural integration?
Thank you, Marianne. Structural integration is bodywork. It's manual therapy where a practitioner uses their fingers, forearms, perhaps elbows, moving in a very gentle way in the connective tissues, the fascia of the body, to help open the fascia so it can lengthen and move freely. In the process of structural integration, the body is also balanced around a central vertical line or axis of the body. And we organize the major segments of the body, the main parts of the body, the head, shoulders, torso, upper legs, lower legs, hips, ankles, feet, around that center line. So the center of gravity of all these major segments are one above the other. So this helps stack the body in good relationship to the gravitational field so that gravity can actually be a beneficial force through the body.
Mm. Well, and then so how does that integrate with energy medicine?
Thank you. That's another great question. I've been thinking about that a long time myself, and there is a wonderful biophysicist named Dr. James L. Oshman. He wrote Energy Medicine and Energy Medicine in Therapeutics and Human Performance. Awesome books that changed my life. I had an opportunity to meet Dr. Oshman in 2006, and he helped me connect the dots of what I was experiencing in my body and also in the work that I was doing with my clients. My body has run energy for years, since I was really little, and I have noticed that as I help clients clear the connective tissues and they get their body segments aligned, their bodies are also able to start moving energy more efficiently. And this energy comes from the life force of Chi, which derives from the gravitational field. It's electromagnetic energy that surrounds every living thing. And our bodies have their own electromagnetic field. The earth has its electromagnetic field. Dr. Rolf, who has actually received her PhD in biochemistry in 1924. Can you imagine 1924? She was a PhD in biochemistry. She was a very pioneering, advanced woman during her time. She studied atomic physics and mathematics in Zurich, Switzerland, and she realized that the body had a relationship with the gravitational field, and that the larger field of the Earth and the celestial bodies of the sun that also affect electromagnetism on this planet, that our bodies, the individual field of the human body, can be enhanced by the larger field of the Earth. That's a radical idea, and it's actually now being supported by current emerging science.
She was really ahead of her time, my goodness,
She really was. She was just remarkable. I'm so grateful to Dr. Rolf and all the work she did. She said in a funny way that she said she thought that she didn't get that much done in her lifetime, and in my book I said, we beg to differ on that, Dr. Rolf. So many of the deep tissue modalities that have sprung up have actually come from her pioneering work. So we owe a lot to the myofascial release knowledge that Dr. Rolf passed on to us.
Well, and I know that you're a certified Rolf practitioner, and is it looks like her work has really influenced your work in quite a bit.
Oh yes. My little body was I was a gymnast in my youth, and I had sustained some injuries from just in the gym when I was training, and also from some improper training techniques. So my pelvis was anterior by the time I was done with my gymnastics. I had a pretty prominent sway back, and my legs had rotation patterns. My feet turned out. I kind of walked like a little duck. I did a lot of ballet, and there were patterns that had worked their way into my body, into the connective tissues, because the connective tissues will pattern around forces of stress. So when I was little, after my training, I was not comfortable standing, sitting, kneeling for any length of time. And I had the great fortune of going through a 10 series of structural integration, 10-session series. It's very systematic work. And during that work, my pelvis became horizontal. My pelvis aligned so that my body weight could actually fall down through my legs and feet into the floor, so I could be supported by what was underneath me, so I could rest. It affected not only my physical body, but my emotional body as well. It was quite remarkable. So I was inspired by my experience of receiving the work, and I knew that this is something that I wanted to assist others with.
Well, a little bit ago you mentioned, just how we're all surrounded with this energetic body. What does that look like for our listeners?
Could you clarify that question a little more, please?
Sure. You were talking about how we were surrounded by energy. We have energy that surrounds us. We have this energetic kind of body. And for our listeners that are looking at how the energy medicine integrates with the structural integration, what does that look like?
Okay. So our bodies create an electromagnetic field through the beating of the heart, through the movement of muscles, through the activities of the brain. And this field surrounds the body, and this field is composed of electrons and protons, the subtle particles that actually are part of what helps everything in our body work properly. So we are influenced by electromagnetism. We have electromagnetism inside of our body. James Oschman said that he developed a theory called the living matrix. And the living matrix is that the connective tissues of the body are semiconductors of this electromagnetic energy. When the proteins of the connective tissues are hydrated. So if we have proper hydration and we're suffused with minerals. If the mineral intake in our bodies are adequate, then there can be a movement of this chi energy, this life force energy, which then enhances the physiological energy flows into all the major systems of the body. So the systems of the body are enhanced. There's better movement of nutrients in the body, and wastes are properly expelled, and just these systems, major systems of our body, work much more efficiently. So structural integration, because we clear the connective tissues of the body, these connective tissues can carry these life force energies even more efficiently. And so everything becomes better. Dr. Rolf was not about just fixing problems in the body. She was about creating a greater human being, actually, one that is really supported and nourished by the energy fields that we live within. I hope that answered your question.
It does. It does. Well, and it's interesting because when the two of them come together and you're doing this type of body work, I mean, there's so many people that have had similar injuries like you've had over your lifetime. I mean, anyone that's played sports has probably gotten to a point where their body has some misalignment in one way or another.
Oh,
so
yes.
It's interesting just, how that can be. It's not like you have to live with it. That can be fixed.
Yes, exactly. So the nuts and bolts is that structural integration works with the physical form of the body. And as that, the physical form, the connective tissues that create the form and shape of the body, as those are cleared of stresses that have embedded within them, people can move more easily. People have more freedom of movement, more energy. Their brains are working more clearly. There's just an enhancement of being alive, really. I call it a springboard. Many of my clients just jump to a whole nother level as they move through the work, and it really supports whatever they're up to. Major life changes, whatever, getting out of chronic pain. It's really good.
Well, and for people who are new to the work, what would they expect in a first appointment? What would that look like?
Yeah, thank you. In the first appointment, people are actually aware before they come that they will be standing in underwear in front of their practitioner in viewing clothes, so to speak. It can be a two-piece bathing suit or underwear, and the practitioner will look at the person standing from a front view, side view, back view, other side view. And as I am looking at my clients' bodies, I'm very quickly assessing if there are rotation patterns going on, how I'm looking at how those major segments of the body are aligned. I'm looking at what's working in the body. I'm looking at what needs to be supported in the body. And then I'm really happy to have my book now because I can refer clients to my book. My book is a great accompaniment to the 10 series. It explains the nuts and bolts of the structural integration. It goes into the other energetic aspect of the body. And in part 2 of the book, each session is detailed, and it also includes the psycho-emotional themes that the Heller work people bring into the work, which is really important. So I wanted to present that as well. And so people, so in a first session, for example, there's a goal for each session, and the goal of the first session is to enhance the breathing capacity. And the goal of every session is to horizontalize the pelvis. So I'll explain that to a person. I'll show medical charts to show them the areas of the body they're working at. They can also look in my book and get a good idea of all of that. Once people are on the table, they're well draped, and the work proceeds. As I actually work with the body, I use very gentle, slow pressure, and I invite my client to meet me in what I call deep body time, which is like an introspective perception of the person where they drop into a slower mode, something that would be similar to like a meditation mode. And we work together to address the areas of their body where pain has gotten stuck in the body. And as a practitioner, I'm able to readily feel these areas and invite them to lengthen and move and open. So each session is really systematic, and systematically we go through the body, organizing the body, session by session, and all of this creates like a synergistic effect of change in the body. It's great work.
So once someone's done an appointment, they've done a session, what type of self-care are they looking to do afterwards?
Another great question. Thank you so much, Marianne. I suggest that my clients do what are called detox baths. And the detox bath has 2 cups of Epsom salt and 2 cups of baking soda. And the water would be warm, not so hot that they're uncomfortable, maybe about a 20-minute soak, and then showering off when they're done. The Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate, and that magnesium is super beneficial for helping to reduce inflammation in the body. It helps to pull toxins out of the body. The baking soda helps to neutralize an acidic pH in the body. So the bath really helps people feel better. It pulls the yucky stuff out, so to speak, and people can integrate the work much better that way. I also will encourage people to hydrate well using good water. There's differences in water. I also encourage people to eat proper salt. There's differences in salt. And with good hydration and good mineral spectrum in the body can really integrate the work and do what it's supposed to do.
I was actually going to ask you about that because the whole pH thing, I think sometimes people get a little confused by that. So why don't you expand on that point a little bit?
Sure. The pH information is super important. The pH of the body needs to be within a certain range in order for there to be like a homeostasis in the body. If the pH of the body is too acidic, and that happens when we're eating too many like meats and sweet carbs and things like that, if the body doesn't have enough minerals in it from vegetables and greens and those kind of things, and also lemon, lime, and grapefruit are actually, once they're ingested in the body, they're very alkalizing. And salt, good quality salt that's hand harvested and unprocessed, has a lot of minerals in the body. The minerals, or it has a lot of minerals in it. The minerals are what make it alkaline. And we want the pH of our body to be a little bit more alkaline, between 6.8 and 7.2. If the body is too acidic, that's how osteoporosis can happen, arthritis, weight gain, those types of things. And people come in with a lot of problems, and often, their nutrition or the type of water they're drinking. Maybe their water is too acidic. From my understanding, many bottled waters are acidic, and they're just not going to help the body absorb the nutrients that it needs. And does that make any sense, Marianne?
I hear what you're saying, and it's good information because a lot of times people think, well, I'm drinking bottled water, so that's better, and that might not be the case.
Yeah, there's a book called The pH Miracle by Robert Young. I learned a lot about that through his book, and I also use a little book that I recommend to clients called The Home Test pH Kit, and that actually comes with a pH cartridge. I actually test my own pH probably 3 or 4 times a week with collecting a little bit of my urine and tearing off maybe a ½ inch of the pH strip in the cartridge and dipping it in and comparing that color from the pH strip to the color on the cartridge. And I've noticed that when my pH is in a good range, my attitude, my mental attitude is also it's also in a good place. It's more positive. So how the chemistry in my body is influencing how I'm feeling mentally and emotionally as well, which I find really fascinating.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that people can expect from their first appointment to like their third appointment?
Marianne, you have some great questions.
You have a great book. It makes it easy, right?
Oh, man, you're doing great. Thank you so much. First session enhances breathing capacity. So the areas that would be worked in that session would be the rib cage, the back. We start opening up the hips, the iliotibial band. There's always neck work and back work. So after that session or during that session, people often experienced a movement of their breath in ways that they haven't maybe had in a while. I remember one client of mine who was a medical doctor. After his first session, he told me he was going to go on a marathon or something, Actually, I think it was a bike ride. And I said, well, if you're feeling up for it, go for it. And he came back and told me he had a lot more stamina and an increased breathing capacity by at least 25%. And I thought, well, that's way cool, Mm-hmm. So that was neat. In the second session, Marianne, the lower legs, feet, those are really worked with and balanced, and the length of the back. And the feet, like if you notice how, a person is standing, or if you look at yourself standing right now, feet are actually meant to go straight ahead. And we humans do a lot of varieties of that. And most of those other options are not optimal. And almost everyone, I could say pretty much everyone that I know who stands with both feet turned out, they've got lower back problems because the turnout of the feet is putting a twist into their legs, which goes up into the hip, which goes up the neck. The connective tissues are connected throughout, and a rotation pattern in one part of the body affects the other. And regarding rotation patterns, Marianne, that's part of the reason why so many people are in trouble with hip and knee replacements. The connective tissues, the body has adapted rotations. They put twists, and these twists compress and dehydrate the connective tissues. And the connective tissues are what help deliver the nutrients and remove the wastes around structures in the body. So the degeneration of the connective tissue precedes the degeneration of joints, which I find fascinating. And I was told that by a chiropractor named Barry Nutter, who was in a training that I participated in 2012. And Dr. Nutter said that from x-rays he has taken of clients who have spinal degeneration, the spinal degeneration is actually preceded by the degeneration of the connective tissue around it. That is big.
That is a big thing because, it's interesting just how much our bodies, when people go through knee replacements and different things like that, just how much, I guess in some ways, like trauma the body goes through, and to get it center, I mean, it takes a little work.
Oh, yeah. And what's interesting as a practitioner, if I can get in there and help take these patterns out on a superficial level and then a deeper level, a core level, then if there hasn't been too much degeneration, the body can regenerate. And this is where the energy medicine part comes in. If you clean up the connective tissue and you allow it to work properly, these beneficial forces of chi, life force energy, can move through and help the body heal. So, I many times, as I work with clients, we've been able to minimize them going down that route, of surgeries.
Well, I know in your book you talk about in the fourth session, it has the themes of control and surrender, and I'd love for you to share why that is.
Wow. You really read my book, Marianne. This is great. I love it. Okay, so you chose a big session there, my dear. The fourth session starts the core level work, meaning that a practitioner starts addressing structures that are connected to the spine. So in the first three sessions, we work with the outer wrap of the body, the superficial fascia, and that allows a practitioner access to these deeper structures where rotation patterns often really get stuck, like along the spine, in the pelvis. So in the fourth session, we address the pelvic floor. And the pelvic floor is the area of the sit bones. So I'm not working inside of the body. I'm working along the rim of the bone that we sit on. And that's a really important area because twists in the legs can get stuck along the inside of this ischial tuberosity, or sit bone as it's called. And because the sacrum is, because the spine is attached to the sacrum, which is that triangular shaped bone that ends in the tailbone, because the spine is connected into the pelvis, a twist in the pelvis can affect the entire spine all the way up to the cervicals. So I work with this every day with clients to help take these type of patterns out of the body. And the fourth session is the beginning of that core level work. Sessions 4 through 7 do the core level work in the body, culminating with detailed work with the head and the neck and the shoulder girdle. And then sessions 8, 9, and 10 are integrative, meaning that by the time the core level work has been done in the body, this deeper strain often surfaces, so the practitioner can get a hold of that and help move even this deeper strain out of the body. Dr. Rolf designed an incredible series of work that we practitioners call the recipe. And this recipe is detailed in my book. I'm very, very happy with how that book came together and the information in it, and how easily accessible it is for any reader. I've been getting really good feedback on that. People who are not in, the medical world, it's written for the lay person, and it doesn't dumb down the information. It's available and it's readily accessible.
Well, you made it so easy to understand. You walked, pretty much session by session on what people can expect, what's there. Where can people connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your book?
Oh, thank you so much, Marianne. I have a couple of websites. I have a professional website that is called JeanLouiseGreen.com. That's JeanLouiseGreen.com. And I also have a website for my book that's dedicated to my book, and that's JeanLouiseGreenAuthor.com. And my email address is JeanLouiseGreen, CMT, that's C as in cat, M as in Mary, T as in Tom, at gmail.com. Those are great ways to get a hold of me.
Well, I really enjoyed your book, and I know our readers will as well. Thank you so much, Jean Louise, for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you, Marianne. That went so fast, and I love the depth of the questioning. I really sensed that you got into the book and you pulled out some amazing questions for me to be able to work with. And I hope my listeners got what they needed, and I encourage people to pick the book up. It's kind of like a manual for the human body, and I'm so pleased with how it turned out and how well it's being supported now that it's out in the world.
Well, it's been such an honor to spend this time with you, Jean. Thank you again so much for sharing your information and, of course, your book, Structural Integration and Energy Medicine. Again, if you'd like to connect with Jean, you can at her website, JeanLouiseGreen.com. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.